that my pops had went to. So this is a different school,
Wow.
which is another rival of my
Oh
old
my goodness.
right.
Making packs, man.
Exactly. So I coached there for like it was like a few games. And then I was like, oh, you know what? I kind of like this high school coaching thing, but I don't know if I'll ever get another chance to do it again because they never called me back. So I was like, cool, do my thing.
Yeah.
So 19 happened, and then COVID hit, right? And like in 19 too, like I started working back out, you know, just a little bit, like trying to get back in shape because we had like just like you know different events, you know, coming up
Yeah.
for 2020, and then had COVID happen,
Yeah.
right? And then being locked in the house, being
That's a
being not
whole,
able to
yeah.
do anything. And mind
Yeah.
you, I'm the type of person where I'm like, hey, I gotta like if I'm not constantly like staying busy, like whether it's like working,
Yeah.
something like I legit will go crazy, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so, and that's kind of like what started happening. Like I started having like anxiety attacks. I had to start thinking about the things that I've never really dealt with before. So I was like I was having like anxiety attacks, panic attacks, like, and they were bad, like bad. Like I would like wake up in the middle of the night with like panic attack.
Wow.
You know, like trying to go to bed, like so I'm like thinking about things, panic attacks. You know, so, but at this time, I had started working at one of the gyms, and it's like a private facility, and those guys there, they're kind of like when they go down the rabbit hole, they really go down the rabbit hole. And so they're like, dude, this whole COVID thing is like, you know, I don't know. It's just the government, you know, like conspiracy theories, right?
Yeah.
So there was things that I did take at like with a grain of salt. I'm like,
Yeah,
whatever, you
maybe,
know.
yeah.
But then there's other things like when they started talking about like the health side of things, I'm like, I'm locked in. Like, okay, well, is this, you know? And so I really started to realize like we really can't be locked up in this house all day.
Yeah.
You know, we
You
need to get
need
out there
to
and start
move. Yeah.
exercising and stuff like that. And so we ended up buying like the like outside gym equipment.
Ooh.
And so
Nice.
then we started like working out, doing stuff like that.
Nice.
And that like for me, I was like, I'm starting to feel better.
Yeah.
You know, I'm mentally starting to feel better. And then but then I started noticing like my memory was starting to kind of like lose a little. Or there was a phase where I would say something, but I would say the same thing like 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
And I chalk it up to the wear and tear of football. Right. So started just taking fish oils, things like that. I'm straight after that. So I'm like, okay, I need to start like oiling my brain. Basically,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
So with my fitness, I started to really dive into like the nutrition side of things, the vitamins, things like that.
Yeah.
I tried plant-based for a minute. Honestly, I was like, I probably almost died, but everybody's like, you just had the keto flu. And I was like, nah, that's the keto flu.
I don't want it.
I'm good. I will figure this thing out, you know? So, yeah, so there's just other things like that. So during this time of COVID, you know, I'm really like breaking down my craft and like trying to get better at like just more than just like, let's just lift weights, you know? You know, I'm learning about mobility. I'm learning about things that I already kind of know, but I'm like, I don't know, but I know it, you know? So I really wanted to get better at it. So I started doing that. You know, like we just had a talk the other day about soy, and I was like, yeah, like we don't need soy, like soy milk, you know, because it does things for the male body. And so I'm like, don't give it to the boys, like, we're not giving it to the sons, you know? So there's just, but again, it's just like that kind of gave me time to really, again, perfect the craft of what I do as far as personal training goes, fitness for myself, you know. I get people asking me questions, oh, how do I do this? How do I do that? You know, so in a sense, it was kind of like, you know, having COVID was like a good thing. Almost.
Yeah.
You know, as far as like the business aspect of it, I was able to really lock in and kind of like, okay, cool. So now when I do post content, you know, and I, again, like we were saying earlier, like I laugh at certain people because I'm like, you don't really understand what it is that I'm doing, you know, because everybody has this concept of social media and what workouts are supposed to look like versus what somebody's actually doing.
Exactly.
Like, I don't just lift weights. Like, I'm not a bodybuilder by far. Like, I'll never claim to be a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
But I do lift in a certain kind of way that is effective, and I teach that to people. Because at the end of the day, like, if you ask an average person on training, they're gonna be like, "Oh, I want to train the world." Yeah. And I'm like, I don't. You know, I don't. I want to be able to take a client, right, and say, okay, this is what you're trying to do with your body. Let me teach you. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to teach you for, you know, we'll call it three months to a year, right? If I can't teach you what you need to know in a year, right, then I've failed, right? Wow. But if I can teach you and I can say, hey, I've taught you everything that I can, it's time for you to go spread your wings and I'm on to the next person. Yeah. Now, if you want me to stay with you and keep training you, that's something totally different. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's different, because now it's not a you don't know how to. It's a you like the companionship / the accountability behind what we're doing, you know? So that's what I teach. Like, so when people are like, oh, like, what do you do for your training? Like, I have all these specifications, but what I try to do, I teach you what I know, so you can go off and do your own thing. Wow. You know? So that's basically that's basically what I'm doing, you know? Bro, so,
that is that first off, man, I mean, that sounded, you know, from the moment you had the car accident to, you know, where you are now, that sounds like a good span. Or I think when we chopped it up before recording, that was a good span of like 5-6 years.
Yeah, roughly.
Like roughly, like that's not a lot of time. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, bro, you've been through a lot in a short amount of time. Like, again, it's going back to what I always say when I talk about these interviews and doing them, and that is, you know, you see the content, you see the, you know, the content you put out, the emphasis you put on your, you know, the way you should lift or this or that, and all these different things, and they're amazing content, but you don't hear the story behind it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why I do what I do. Like, that's where I come in, because it's like, it's amazing stories like this that truly makes the content all the more greater. You know what I'm saying? When you truly understand where this person is coming from, when you also went into the aspect of why you lift the way you do, that being the part of the reason of the injuries that you had, and just the things you just shared, bro, like, it's something that I think nobody, even me myself, I know you even shared it with me before recording, but I'm still looking like, man, that happened. You know, like I forgot.
Well, I mean, I still got the scar to prove it from the surgery. Like, I still have a plate. It's a plate in 10 pins. Yeah, and it actually, the picture of the X-ray is actually on one of my videos on TikTok.
Oh man, you gotta send it to me, man. Yeah, you gotta send it to me.
So the plate actually, it goes down. Like, what do I have? So if this is the humerus bone, right? Like, this is the humerus bone, and it connects to the elbow, right? So my plate runs down the humerus bone, cups into the elbow, and there's pins all along this, and then there's one that goes through the elbow joint and into the plate that it's cupped into, because it has to help keep my elbow, like my arm, attached. Wow. So like, my arms naturally, they hyperextend, but now my left, it's straight. It's just, it goes straight to 0. Yeah. So like, I have this, like, people see like right where it cut off, they're like, oh my gosh, what happened to your arm? Yeah. So I've been making jokes like that. If I don't know them, I'm like, oh, I was stabbed. Like, what? I was like, yeah. There was a guy, he was running down the street with a samurai sword. They're like, what? Like, I'm like, and then like, when they're like freaked out, I'm like, I'm just kidding. It was from surgery. They're like, oh.
Hey. Bro, that's the dope part about injuries. You can make up anything. Like, you know, you can, I fall Hercules. Like, it can just be anything. But again, it goes back to just the humor you can get from it. You can make light of the situation, but at the same time, the story itself is enough to just shock a person. What you're saying is enough for you to grab your head. Like, that is enough just for me not to want to believe it. It's like, what the heck are you talking about? It's like,
right. No. I was like, and it's funny because some people don't. And I'm like, all right, hold on 1 second. And I call my boy, my boy 12. I'll call him. I'm like, hey, I'm there. Like, yeah. I was like, how did my hand look when I got hurt? Like, how did my arm look when I got hurt? And this first word every time is disgusting. He's like, disgusting. He was like, he still has nightmares about it. Like,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, he's like, dude, he's like a lot of the guys are like freaked out because like naturally I'm a big dude, like I'm 6'2" naturally, right? So in pads and everything else, like, bro, I look like a freak of nature. They're like you went down and like everybody started playing differently. They're like it just like it was like if he got hurt like that, I'm not trying to get hurt like
exactly.
That. So everybody started playing differently. More like my 12, like this dude, like he would, instead of giving himself a little bit more time to like lob the ball up, he's taking off. Pew! Like he's trying to run and smoke you, right? He was like, dude, I started staying in that pocket so much longer and just getting rid of the ball.
Man.
He's like, the way you got hit, he was like, because it was even like on film. It's like, how did it happen? How did it happen? Like, you can't tell. It was just, again, freak accident.
Freak accident, man. Yeah.
And that's why I say too, like, and I get told this every time I tell a story, but they're always like, well, you should have let your body heal. And I'm like, yeah, no. So now, like, and even with me doing personal training, I didn't tell you earlier, but I do coach at a high school also.
Hey, nice.
And I coach there now 2 years. This is now my second season with them. But like, I tell the kids now, like, look, like, you're hurt. Like, I get it, let's go to the sports trainer. If they say you're done for the night, like you're done, and we'll go from there. We have, because my team's young. Like, I think this year we only have like 4 seniors.
Wow.
Like 4 or 5 seniors. Yeah. So everybody else is young. So I'm like, dude, you guys have 3 years, 2 years left. Like, let's make sure your body's taken care of, and we'll go from there. So, because I'm like, you guys don't want to end up like me.
Yeah, I was about to say. Yeah. Do you use yourself?
Like, yeah, exactly. And they're like, yeah, no, you're right. So I'm like, all right, cool. So, is it a scare tactic? Sometimes, but it gets them to listen. Yeah. And I tell that just with people that are lifting. I'm like, bro, like, what are you doing? Like, go let your body heal up. Like, because people don't understand how much energy your body takes trying to heal
itself.
And I didn't either. Like, I'm the first one to admit, like, I did not understand it whatsoever. So yeah, man. So so I mean, like I said, that's kind of like, again, my story as far as my football career, things like that. But now that I am out of that phase, out of that slump, things like that, and I kind of look at every day as like a new day, and because I don't want to fall back. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have that like mental situation. So I'm like, okay, cool. Do I try to stay busy? Absolutely, because again, I know myself. There's still other little things in my life where I'm like, if I start thinking about it, I'm like, So eventually, like, do I still deal with them? Yeah, but I've learned to approach things differently, because as I'm getting older, I think the approach and how we do things matters. It definitely matters, because like you said, like you're 27, right? So like the way that you could approach something versus me are going to be totally different. You know what I mean? And I may not be able to approach it the way that you do.
Yeah.
Whereas you being younger, you can like approach something the way that you want to, but then still see, let's say we're approaching the same situation. You could approach it the way that you want to, and I could do it my way, but you're more inclined to kind of like, oh, like, why did you do it that way?
I agree.
And then now you're like, okay, well, now I have 2 things, which is why too, like, I surround myself with a plethora of age groups. Like my brother, like, he's 34. The guys in my workout group, like, I think we range from like 29 to like 33.
Oh, wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of like we talk
to
about
each other.
different things and, and situations and scenarios. And, like I said, I told them about the interview and they're like, well, wait, hold on. Like, you haven't said anything about this like before. And I was just like, bro, there's just some things like I've learned from you guys. Like there's just some things that I just should not, talk about because, whether it's like an envy thing or, like you might try to talk me out of it. Like, oh, well, how many followers, how many this, how many this is like, what does that matter? So again, I'm just learning how to deal with people and situations in a way that's still healthy for me, that it doesn't make me have to go and like rethink my decision, because that's where a lot of people's anxieties and depressions come from, is when you start to rethink and then overthink the situation. And that's what I'm kind of learning is like, okay, if there's something going on, I need to stick to my decision and not look back.
Exactly.
And so, and it's the same thing with fitness. Like, it's like, okay, if I'm going to go into this fitness realm of like, just, I don't have to worry about being an athlete. So like, I don't have to worry about, doing certain kind of lifts, and it's like, cool. I can do that. And I don't have to look back and be like, oh, am I doing this right? Am I getting my fitness down right? No, it's like, I know what I'm doing. I'm just trying to look good and be able to chase my kid around, you know what I mean? Without being winded.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And that's cool. And then the side, the after effect of it all is like, because naturally I have that athletic body. So it's like with me shedding off all the weight that I shed off. And now like people tell me, they're like, dude, you're looking like big, like how much muscle are you putting on? I'm like, bro, I'm just cutting body fat right now. Like that's all I'm trying to do.
You got size, bro. Yeah. I was looking at that.
And so that's what I'm saying. Like everybody's like, what the heck? Like you're just cutting body, like, you're not putting on muscle. I'm like, not on purpose. Like, but again, that's just my body type.
It's your body type. Yep.
So, and that's what I try to tell people too. So that's kind of what it just really boils down to, man. Like being comfortable enough to just be you and not really tripping on what anybody else is saying, So
would you say that although you went through all the things you went through with the car accident and then not really listening to what everyone was saying about you should take a break, this or that, and I think you probably hit on this earlier a few minutes ago when you were explaining, but just to emphasize this particular subject, would you say that you wish you would have listened, or would you say that you're glad that the situations turned out the way they did and you learned from them and accepted it because it has made you who you are today? How do you look at the situation now? Or are you kind of in a sense always regretful, like, man, had I done this, had I done that? Yeah.
I think the athlete in me is like, man, we got this. We can do it in another round. You know what I mean? Like, there's days, like, there's definitely days. There's definitely days I'm like, man, I still got it. You know what I mean? I still got it. And there's other days I'm like, I'm glad I kind of, you know what I mean? I'm glad I hung them up, in the beginning, but definitely in the beginning, which is why I think what started kind of like the depressive state was like, I wanted to go back.
Yep.
I wanted to go back. Yeah. I was getting calls like, hey, like,
oh, wow.
Are you good? Can you give it another go? Like, and there was a point where I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go back. Like, sat down, talked with the family, like everything. And then I had one more conversation, and I want to say it was with my brother. So I respected like a lot,
Yeah, I could tell.
And I was like, hey, like, this is kind of what's going on. Everybody's saying this, like some people are saying no, but I'm like, dude, like my heart's in it. Like I gotta do it.
Yeah.
And my brother was like, at the end of the day, like you got to do what's going to make you happy. One. Wow. He was like, but think about it like this. He was like, your arm was a situation that nobody saw coming. Right. And mind you, I'm left-hand dominant, so I messed up my left. So I had to learn how to do everything.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So he goes, so you had to learn how to do everything with your right hand, right? I said, yeah. He goes, okay. Your surgery it was cool, but like obviously like it took you a while to come off the anesthetics, and like there was like a whole little situation with that. So then he was like, so ask yourself, what if your body isn't fully healed? Right? He was like, what if your body isn't fully healed? You're going back out again, rushed. He was like, you're going back out, rushed, and then you hurt your other arm. He was like, or what if it's your leg? Right? And so me, I'm like, bro, don't be superstitious. Like this is like, you know what I mean? Like I literally told him, I said, why would you say that? Like, I was like, why would you say that? Right? I was like, because now it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
So then he was like, he goes, worst comes to worst. He was like, what if it's your back?
Yeah.
So being
not what you want to hear.
Right. So I think I'm like, shoot. I'm like 29 now, right? So yeah, so it was like a year like healing, and then I'm like 29.
Yeah.
So then I was like, whatever, I'm done. Like I'm not, you know what I mean? I was like, you said the one thing that I'm always gonna think about now, which was my back. I was like, my arm, whatever, I already survived that. Leg, all right, like you know what I mean? But then when he was like, your back, and I was like, all right, man. All right. You got me. You got my attention. You got my attention, you know? And then like you know, I prayed about it. I'm like, okay. Like what it like what like there's something is still trying to connect me to playing ball. But like what is it? Like I don't know what it is, you know? So then like I said, and then that's when I got like the taste of the coaching aspect.
Yep.
And I wasn't gonna do it. My grandma was like, hey, go check it out. And it was with her friends. It was like her friend's son. So she was like, go check it out. See what you know, see how you like it. Right. So, you know, I was like, all right, fine. So I go do the thing.
Yeah.
I coached. I want to say it was like 4 games. I want to say it was like 4 games. Yeah. So I was like, this is cool. Like, yeah, no, like I like this. And then, like I said, I didn't get the call back. And then I was like, okay, COVID.
Yeah.
Happened. And then last season, it was like the last week of July. Okay. So out here, football season starts in August.
Okay.
First game is usually like the second week, like the first week of school, right? So typically like right around like August, like 20th, like like the last like 2 weeks of the month.
Yep.
I get a call from my cousin in July, the end of July. And he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm leaving work. Right? I'm leaving I just got done with the client. I was like, well, I'm heading to the house, you know, doing my thing.
Yeah.
And he was just like, cool. So I have a question for you. And he's like, you just let me know if you're down or not. Right. And me and my cousin, we're like thick as thieves. Like, you know, so he's like, well, one, I want to let you know, he's like, I just got hired at the high school. And I was like, oh, cool. That's what's up. Right. He's like, but my old school. So I was like, oh, in Mobile? He's like, yeah. I was like, okay, cool. I was like, congrats. And he was like, yeah. So crazy opportunity. We just got a new head coach and he's trying to put a staff together. When I tell you, this is like a Disney movie.
That is crazy, bro.
It really is. Like he's trying to put a staff together. He was like, "Are you down?" I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, because like I just had this taste before, and then now I'm like, then I didn't get a call back, so I'm like, I don't want to go in and like hopes up, and then like same thing happens again, and then like I can't be part of football anymore, right? Because I just got over the hump. Like I just got over this hump of like
progression and
like football's done.
Yeah.
So he was like, all right, give me a call back later. Right. So I was like, okay, I got you. I didn't call him back. I waited like 2 weeks. Okay. So now we're in August. Okay? So he hits me up again. He's like, hey, what are you doing? And every time he calls me, like my cousin has like, sometimes he has impeccable timing. So every time he calls me, I'm like leaving. I'm either leaving to go leaving work, or I'm leaving the gym. Like he always calls me in these time frames, right? Or if I'm just sitting there doing absolutely nothing, usually he'll text me, but it is what it was.
Yeah.
So he was like, he called me and he goes, he was like, hey, he's like, did you think about coaching? And I was like, yeah, I have. Like, I'm good, cousin. Like, thank you.
Yeah.
And then he was like, cousin, you need to come out here and come coach. And I was like, I don't know. Like, it might be a lot of time. Like, I'm real hesitant, right? Mm-hmm. He's like, coach wants to meet you.
Wow.
He's asking about you. Like, I told him about you. He's like, just come out here and just take a look, right? So I was like, all right, I'll go. Go down there. Coach is real cool, right?
Hey.
And so he's like, hey, man, like, you think you can show these kids some things, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, what do you want me to work on? He was like, what can you coach? I was like, well, I played linebacker. I played DN. I played running back. I played receiver. I played all these different
everything.
You're the coach. Where do you want me to,
to
help you out at?
Yeah.
He was like, can you help my linebackers and help your cousin with DBs? And I was like, yeah, that's cool. Again, me and my cousin, we almost, like, when it comes to this coaching thing, and we didn't realize this, but we almost have like one brain.
Wow.
Like we're on the same page.
Wow.
And so I noticed, like, he's like calling the plays. I'm standing next to my cousin. He's calling his plays, and these kids are lost. And I'm like, hey, like, real quick, like, do you guys even know the plays? They're like, no. I was like, and I look at my cousin. I was like, don't you guys have a game in like 2 weeks? He's like, yeah. And I was like, all right.
There you go. Yeah.
I was like, all right, man. So then, again, I wasn't going to do it. I wasn't. And so I told the kids, like, all right, look, we're going to keep it real simple. Okay. We're going to go cover 1, cover 2, cover 3. Okay.
Yep.
Red, green, yellow.
Yep.
Okay. That's all we're doing. Okay. Like, these are the coverage calls. Like, these are the colors. This is what I want you guys to do. Right. Yeah. Coach was like, at the end of practice, he was like, that was probably my best defensive practice, and you did that on the fly. And I was like, thanks. Mind you, he had a defensive coordinator at the time.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
He was like, look, he's like, I haven't heard from my defensive coordinator in like 2 weeks.
Get him out of there.
He's like, in 2 weeks. He's like, I don't know if he's gonna come back, whatever.
That's crazy.
He was like, can you be my DC? I'm like, wait, what? And he was like, can you be my defensive coordinator? Now, me being the person I am, I was like, what about my cousin?
Yeah.
He was like, he's good, but he doesn't have that, his words were more of lines of like, he's like, I like David. He's like, I like him. He was like, I need him more on offense at the time, right? He's like, you can just kind of get this thing going on defense. He was like, we'll be good.
Yeah.
My cousin was cool with that, right?
Oh,
wow. Like, no. He's like, because I talked to him, I was like, like, would you be cool? I was like, would you be cool with this? He's like, no, absolutely.
Nice.
And then, so I was like, all right. So I did it.
Yeah. So
I'm a DC. I went from volunteering to being a DC.
That's crazy, bro.
Like that. So I'm like, okay. Mind you, and I'm the youngest coach on staff, right? Ooh. I'm like 30. Yeah, I was 30.
Wow.
So I'm the youngest coach on staff. 29. I just turned 30. So I'm like, all right. So I'm trying to learn. Mind you, we didn't have they didn't have like a preseason to like warm up to like understand anything.
Yeah.
So our first game was like against the number 10 school in the state of California.
Wow. What the heck?
Right. So that's our first game. We get washed. Okay. Washed. Second game, it's this crosstown rival, right? We almost beat them, but we lost off of a bad call. Because the way that our end zone is colored, it was just a bad call.
Oh, man.
So we ended up losing like 6-7. Right?
Okay.
First game, we lose 70-0. Okay. Then we lose 7-6.
Okay.
Second game. Right. So you're like, okay, progress.
That's
right?
Huge progress. So what the heck?
Right. So then every game after that, it's like you see these kids like they're just like they're being molded to like go through like they're literally know at the end of the week, they're like, I know we're gonna go through hell. Like they knew it, you know what I mean? Because it's like they knew that they at the end of the day, like they step on the field, they look way different than the kids that they're going against. Right? Lack of muscle, lack of speed. But these kids have heart, right? These are just some like gridiron gang kids.
You know? I love it, bro.
So they're going up there just trying to just make something happen.
Yeah.
So finally, like our last, like we get into league. Mind, we're losing every game, mind you, okay? We get into league, and in league, we play this school called Notre Dame. And we had a halftime speech that was like no other. Mind you, we were down. It was 18-0. Ooh. Right? Kids were like hanging their heads. Man, I don't know, like, you know?
Yeah.
And my sophomore linebacker, who ended up becoming he was like second team all league. Wow. Right? Yeah. Wow. Like kid's a monster.
Oh, that's amazing.
Right? And so I'm like talking to him. I'm like, dude, what are you seeing? He's like, okay, every time I do this is what's going on. I'm like, okay, right. But the crazy thing is like at that moment, I was like, these kids really understand the basic coverages now. They really understand it because like we were just drilling it because like we had to treat the season like an off season.
Yeah.
And it sucked because it was like, we have to teach you guys everything, whereas everybody else is just rolling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and this is why I'm like, you know what? These kids have like mad perseverance because it's like most kids would have just rolled over. Like, no.
Yeah.
But, and I think too, that comes from like, they see the energy that I bring to
I was just about to say.
My cousin, you know what I mean? And like, and we're telling them like, bro, we can't want this more than you guys. Like,